Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. Pardon me. I addressed the first two conditions that I had defined that make record collecting and listening to vinyl such a great value last week. Both having the type of music you listen to available on vinyl and having access to used vinyl. So let me pick up there, starting with my third condition, keeping your records clean. One of the most important ways to ensure being able to enjoy your vinyl collection is to have a good cleaning process. Surface debris, mold release agents from pressing, organic and protein-based contaminants, and general accumulated gunk will conspire to keep you from hearing the best that this medium has to offer. Dirty records have that snap, crackle, pop characteristic that make most people wonder why anyone would bother to listen to such a noisy format. While some records have been destroyed by poor care, abuse, or repetitive play and can never be restored, most records can be resurrected to serviceable life with a good cleaning. Now, there are many manual ways to clean your records, such as the inexpensive Allsop Orbitrack 3 Pro, which sells for around $60. Then too, there is the Spin Clean system, which starts at just about $80. There is the remarkable Disc Doctor Miracle Record Cleaner with its own associated brushes from Dr. Dwayne Goldman, who's a really brilliant guy. And it's an exceptional product. This fluid and its applicators offer some of the best cleaning I've experienced to date without the use of a machine. And of course, it may be used in conjunction with a machine as well. Now, vacuum-powered devices range from $200 and escalate to as much as you want to spend. Believe me, you can spend a pile on one. My recommendation for an affordable new device is the Record Doctor 5 record cleaning machine, made by Nitty Gritty and only sold through the Audio Advisor. It does a surprisingly good job and retails for about $200 right now. But all it does, using its vacuum power, is suck the gunk off your records after you have cleaned them by hand using your favorite fluids. That's right. You have to apply the fluids, manually scrub and clean the record. Then you put the record on the vacuum-powered Record Doctor device, wet side down, and turn the LP by hand while the integrated vacuum removes the fluid and all the debris is loosened. Stepping up to the powered machines, you'll find many, many choices. Some, like those from Nitty Gritty, will even apply the fluid for you. They even make one, the Mini Pro, starting at about $1,500, that will wash and vacuum both sides of an LP at once, rather than doing just one side at a time separately. However, guys, one of my favorite models is the VPI HW 16.5. It has been the workhorse of the industry since its introduction dozens of years ago now, and is currently selling for about $850. I think I got mine for about $600 some decades ago. But with its built-in dust cover, 18 RPM super high torque motor, stainless steel water collection system, and some seriously powerful suction, it pulls all the loosened debris off one side of your LP in just about 30 seconds. In fact, I owned both the Nitty Gritty Mini Pro and the HW 16.5 for years. Now, for those models, there are literally dozens of options for fluid formulations and from as many different sources. Most people choose to use a single pass process where they apply their chosen cleaning fluid, brush it into the grooves, give it the necessary penetration time, then vacuum it off. Now, while this is an acceptable method, I chose to adopt and use a three-step process. The first such process I ran across back in 2006 was called Audio Intelligent. Now, with this three-step Audio Intelligent process, an enzymatic wash, a more typical alcohol wash, all followed by a pure water flush, it was created by Paul Frumkin. Now, when Paul retired, he sold the process to Osage Audio. Now, Audio Intelligent Vinyl Solutions has opened distribution to outlets like Elusive Disc and Audio Advisor, to name a few. Now there are several other three-step contenders from different manufacturers. Guys, I highly recommend the original. Skip those knockoffs. And to be fair, the first enzymatic-only cleaning solution I ran across was Bug Tussle's Vinylzyme, introduced to me by its inventor in 2002, Dr. Kevin Blair. And I found it while I was reviewing his lemniscus loudspeakers. And while Vinylzyme was highly effective, using it in a three-step process is the most effective way I've uncovered to clean LPs without an ultrasonic cleaner. And really should be the choice of anyone not going that route, especially if you are collecting older LPs. Now, these enzymatic fluids are designed to loosen and dissolve a wide range of impurities, including many protein-based and organic contaminants that settle into and grow on older LPs. Now, you may have noticed that there has been a recent surge in availability of ultrasonic cleaning machines from companies like DeGritter to KL Audio. And I have to say, once you use one of these devices, be prepared to not be satisfied going back to anything less. Now, I opted for the original German Audiodesk System Ultrasonic Cleaner. Guys, it's amazing. With a tiny footprint, I mean, the whole cleaner is just 13 inches wide, 8 inches deep, and 10.5 inches tall. It's a self-contained marvel. At the bottom of the cleaner is the fluid reservoir and holds a combination of their special cleaning solution added to distilled water. The upper section has a slot to allow for a 12-inch LP to be inserted and the belt-driven idlers to spin that LP as it cleans. I'm sorry, no option for 45s or 10-inch EPs with the Audiodesk. But you touch the start button and the 5.5-minute cleaning cycle starts. Fluid is pumped up from the reservoir below into the cleaning tank. The LP is spun and subjected to the ultrasonic action and the cleaning fluid. And when the cleaning cycle finishes, and it is adjustable, you can extend it if you feel the need, the fluid then drains back down into the reservoir. At that point, some vents open and fans begin a drying cycle that, when completed, presents you with a clean, dry LP ready to drop on your turntable, guys. It's fabulous. And no, it's not cheap. It lists for $4,495. But I got to tell you, it's not uncommon to see it available for under $4,000, sometimes $3,500-ish. But look around, you can find a deal on it. But guys, once you use one of these devices, you'll be utterly spoiled. I picked up an original first pressing 1973 UK gatefold of Golden Earring's amazing Moontan LP for $1 at a record shop in Fort Myers, Florida. Now, while it sounded great, it always had a high degree of surface noise. But after a run-through on the Audiodesk, it sounded like a mint-minus LP. Guys, I was sold. And once again, whatever method you decide and settle on for cleaning your LPs, if you choose to use one of the machines, don't forget to check out sources like thrift shops, pawn shops, online sources like Craigslist, eBay, and AudioGuide. The used market, guys, is still the best way to win at the diminishing returns game. Buying used gear just makes sense. Now, there are a couple of other gizmos that will aid you in your vigilance against dirty LPs. Once you have really deep cleaned a record, you will have to do, all you have to do to maintain it is use a good brush, natural or carbon fiber, before each play and before you put the record back into its sleeve. Now, brushes are available from companies like Hunt and AudioQuest, starting as low as $30, and go to the extreme, like the wonderful Levin design brushes, which start at about $100 and are produced by traditional brush manufacture methods using all natural materials. Now, whichever type you choose, such a brush must be considered essential. An anti-static gun, like the Milty Zero Stat 3, comes in around $100 new, and is really handy, especially during the dry winter months. It alleviates any static buildup on the record and prevents annoying discharge noises during playback. Another tool that should be considered a necessity if you wish to resolve the best from your format is a record clamp. If your turntable comes with one, great, you're set. If not, they come in several varieties, reflex and mass, and they keep the record in firm contact with the turntable's platter to help control undesirable resonances, and will even help alleviate the problems experienced with mildly warped records. Third-party reflex clamps start as low as $30, like the Record Doctor model, which is available from Audio Advisor. But you can go crazier too, guys. Clear Audio makes a model called the Clear Audio Statement Record Clamp. It sells for a cool $1,000. Now, while I have no real interest in perpetuating the digital versus analog debate, it is clearly my opinion that LP playback, when done right, is simply more musically authentic sounding than any digital medium available today. And folks, I'm not alone. This opinion is shared by other industry luminaries such as the Absolute Sound's managing editor, Robert Harley, and Analog Planet and Stereophile's Michael Fremer. In fact, in Robert's book, The Complete Guide to High-End Audio, he states, and I quote, "This quandary, LP versus CD, SACD, or DVD audio, emerges from the fact that even today's state-of-the-art CD playback doesn't approach the sound quality offered by a good LP playback system. At the very highest level of music production, there's not even a debate. LP is musically superior to CD." Now, the ongoing debate has been a major detractor to the progress of the high-end cause in general. This and other similar arguments have drawn the focus away from what is the most profoundly important aspect of this hobby, the music itself. I mean, that is, after all, why I pursue this hobby, regardless of format. Isn't it yours? I hope so. Now, in this regard, I'm happy to say that my harder line has softened considerably, to the point where I can say that I no longer find digital playback to be unlistenable at length, even though that was true enough just a few short years ago. I have become more and more format agnostic over the past decade or so, mostly thanks to the advent of the SACD originally, and now the higher resolution files like 24-bit 192 kilohertz, and especially with DSD. Now guys, don't get me wrong, LPs have their own shortcomings to deal with. We all know about their susceptibility to damage, wear, surface noise, ticks and pops. They can also be plagued by any number of problems, including speed instability, cartridge-based frequency response variations, tone arm cartridge compliance issues, as well as mistracking and inner groove distortions. But for me, and for most of my colleagues, all of those problems, especially when addressed with implementing the best components available and employing knowledgeable and conscientious setup techniques, are less musically objectionable than the distortions imposed by the digital encoding and decoding of an audio signal. Robert Harley once suggested that LP's distortions are apparent but separate from the music, whereas digital's distortions are woven inextricably into their musical fabric. Consequently, analog's distortions are considerably easier to ignore. Now, when comparing any old record played on any old poorly set up turntable to an average digital source like a CD player or music streamed from a DAC to a DAC, the digital will likely offer higher sonic performance. The overall public perception that the sound from CD was vastly superior to that of a record was originally established because most listeners have never heard a truly high-quality LP playback system, guys. As such, when the average uneducated listener hears a CD played back on a $200 CD player, compared to the average knock-around record played back on a plug-and-play $200 turntable, using a budget stereo receiver and inexpensive set of bookshelf speakers. That inadequate comparison has founded the basis for that perpetuated misconception. So just what is it about vinyl sound that gives it the sonic edge? How can I possibly suggest that the sound produced from a well taken care of LP, played back on a first-rate, well dialed in and synergistic turntable, tone arm, and cartridge system, will produce more realistic sound than any digital system? It's simple, really. When those conditions are met, LPs offer a more open, airy, spatial presentation, along with a manifestation of transparency, musically relevant dynamic expression, especially at the micro end of the scale, that combine to present a more realistically musical tapestry, one that cannot be matched by digital, period. Use of a pure analog source, and by that I mean a record that has never been digitized at any stage of its production, presents a musical tapestry more inherently correct in a manner that more unmistakably, more authentically conveys both the expressiveness and the power of the music. With LPs, there is an overwhelmingly three-dimensional reality to the image. Tone and timbre are more vivid. Detail is more vital. Contrasts between loud and quiet are starker. And nuances exhibit more power over the listener. Overall, these advantages combine to render a greater level of involvement to the listening experience. Although digital recording catches the essence and broad strokes of the music, the more subtle interpretations and variations just don't make the translation. Guys, with the finest of LP playback systems, like what I use here daily, timbre is almost always more natural and correct sounding, with more precise pitch definition. Bass is more full, more rounded, and richer. Vocals are more present, providing more of a sense of their texture and the body that created them, be they flesh and blood, wood, brass, or even stretched skins. Cymbals are more detailed, more bronzy, more lifelike. They are more likely to shimmer over you than to splash at you. The soundstage is more dimensional in its layering, providing a better sense of both the actual size of individual instruments, as well as their placement within and interrelationship with the other instruments in the recording. There is a greater sense of the individual bloom of each instrument itself, as well as the air and space around instrumental voices, guys. It's remarkably different. The image is wider, deeper, and especially more correct in its rendering of height. There is an overall vitality and life to the music that is just inescapable with vinyl, to me anyway. You know, with digital, bass tends to be flattened, coming across in a more two-dimensional sense with less depth, breadth, and often with less definition. Timbre is typically less honest. Voices nearly always seem rougher and have less body. Cymbals sound whiter, often with a splashy, tishy kind of quality. The stage is notably shallower, with layering rendered much more discreetly, much more like a two-dimensional cutout suspended in space, rather than projecting spherically in all directions and overlapping in space, with a foreshortening and a flattening of the acoustical space of the recording. There is an overall sense of less rendered by the digital sources when compared to that of exceptional analog playback. And it's painfully obvious at the level we're talking about. Now, guys, Neil Young, the grizzled rock veteran, has a much more graphic analogy for the contrast. He suggests that if you equate listening to vinyl to the feel of the water splashing over you when standing under a waterfall, that listening to digital is like standing under someone pouring buckets of ice over you. I love Neil. It's a really funny analogy. Now, I'd like to remind everyone that all of my videos and links to virtually everything I've had published on the web going back to the mid-1990s, as well as much of my printed work, is available at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. I've included a link below in the comments section, so I hope you'll all take a minute to check it out. It's really, really a lot of information. And finally, please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying our conversations here. And please feel free to share them with your friends and colleagues, guys. Thank you for dropping by today. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.